Arsenal put Burnley to the sword with an emphatic 5-0 away victory at Turf Moor. Now, Arsenal have been playing very well recently. It's no surprise that the mood in the camp is upbeat. Arsenal are doing everything right. But the question is, can we trust this Arsenal side? We've seen in last season Arsenal's inability to finish the job off. Matter of fact, they're facing two teams in that title race that have shown us year in, year out that they are always there for the long run. Manchester City usually catch the eye of the tiger at this moment of the season, and Jurgen Klopp has always been a worthy competitor for Pep Guardiola. And so the question is, can we trust this Arsenal side to finish off the job? Hey guys, it's your boy Izzy, and if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you are enjoying this content. Arsenal played very well against Burnley, but one of the things that a lot of people have been saying of late is that the teams that they've been playing against have let them play through them, almost giving no credence to the fact that Arsenal themselves have been raising their game against the opponents that they've been facing. And I would take that argument if you would talk about Burnley and maybe West Ham in isolation to any other game. But Arsenal did what they did to Burnley and West Ham to Liverpool. Liverpool played at the Emirates Stadium and they were beaten 3-1. And while Arsenal's performance suited the scoreline because Arsenal were the better side, Arsenal did have to rely on two goals that quite possibly were very lucky towards the end of the game. Now, against West Ham and against Burnley, both sides barely laid a glove on the Arsenal goal. And so when we look at the way Arsenal's defense has tightened up, especially towards this point of the season, most people always think of these teams as title winners or title challengers. And Arsenal are title challengers, but a lot of people still don't have them as title winners. And it is very understandable because they haven't proven it. And most people like to see something before they believe it. And we will generally believe Arsenal once we see them lift that trophy at the end of the season. But Arsenal are a good side, and their ability to put teams to the sword is something that should not be sniffed at. Burnley are a team that attempt to play football. Though they don't have the tools that they are supposed to be using, Vincent Kompany seems to try and favor this ability to try and play through a lot of teams. Now, it was a very big mistake for them to try and go toe-to-toe with Arsenal because we saw last week, even against a side that generally wants to sit back, Arsenal will continue to try and pound you when they have the opportunity to. This game was an exercise in Arsenal's dominance from minute 1 all the way to minute 90. Burnley barely laid a glove on Arsenal, and the only time that they actually did have a small flurry of opportunities was towards the end when Dr. Fofana had a couple of shots, Brownhill took an attempt, but they were all wide of the target. Arsenal have this ability to just hold teams off, and one of the things that's been impressive about what Arteta has been able to do is to make this team play in totally different positions. In last week's game, I thought that Trossard was number 8, but a lot of other people thought that Trossard was playing the false 9. We saw these players shift in position throughout this game. At times, Havertz was the number 9. At times, Havertz was the number 8. At times, Trossard was playing 9. Sometimes Trossard was playing in Saka's point. Sometimes Martinelli was playing as the 8. And sometimes Trossard was over on the left-hand side. What Arsenal are able to do is make very good use of positional play. And they confused the living daylights out of Burnley. Burnley did not know who to mark and when to mark them. And one of the most impressive things was that all of Arsenal goals came as a result of build-up and not lucky goals. Because when I look at the Liverpool game, Liverpool were very good, but a lot of their goals came as a result of Brentford's inability to defend well. And a couple of times Ben Mee and Collins were not able to clear the ball effectively, and Liverpool punished them as any good team would do. But Arsenal are able to strangle their teams now. And in them having these two very big, large scoring games back to back, we're starting to see them not give opportunity to any of the teams to have a chance to come back. Because last season, when Arsenal were in this same position, we saw them cede territory to Liverpool and to West Ham and to Southampton, and they always seemed to be very vulnerable to the teams that they were facing. This season, and at this particular point, Arsenal are looking much more compact, and we can owe that to Declan Rice and the way he's able to marshal that midfield, but that same thing can be said about Jorginho when he plays in there. And we can also say the same thing about Gabriel and Saliba. There seems to be this solidity in the Arsenal team that a lot of teams are not able to break down. And now we will only see how good Arsenal are when they face Manchester City and when they face Manchester United and when they go away to Tottenham, because those are going to be Arsenal's 3 most difficult fixtures as they try to close in on a first title in 20 years. I do think that Arsenal are able to take those those games, but the question is, which type of Arsenal are we going to see? Because at the end of the season, nerves are going to be jangling, and whether or not Arsenal have learned from last season's malaise at the end is going to be something that we're only going to be able to see when that point comes. But in this game, they were able to dispatch of Burnley very well. Bukayo Saka continues his very good run of form. He scored 2 goals again here with a penalty and a rasping shot that flew past Trafford. And then you look at midfield and the way Declan Rice has been able to take control of games, it's just magnificent to see. Their positional play has been something that a lot of people have not talked about a lot, and I just wanted to point it out because Arsenal make sure that they confuse their teams all the time when they play. And if they're able to do this to Manchester City, and if they're able to do this to Manchester United, and Aston Villa, the other team that I think would be very hard for them to face. And I think they also have to go to Brighton, so that's not going to be an easy game as well. But if Arsenal are able to carry this form and to have the exact same style of play, well, we can see Arsenal doing very big things towards the end of the season. The happier thing for them this week was that Manchester City were able to draw yesterday against Chelsea, and that's going to give them a lot more confidence. And one of the things that I've been noticing about the title race so far is that whenever a team seems as though they have the momentum to keep on going, or they think that they can stretch away from the chasing pack, they always seem to find something that brings them right back. Arsenal were able to do that to Liverpool when they beat them a few weeks ago. And then yesterday we saw somebody halt Manchester City and this juggernaut that we thought was going to propel them to win this title yesterday. And then we quite possibly could still see Arsenal be pegged back by somebody in the future, because right now everything seems nice and rosy, and long may it continue. I want to see my team do very well, but in a title race that's going to be as tight as this, it's not going to be very easy to break out of that pack. And we all know basic mathematics. 3 does not go into 1. And eventually somebody is going to have to stake their claim to this title. Arsenal were the ones who recently did it with that game against Liverpool. And if they are able to get something from the Etihad, the confidence that that's going to give them is going to be so much. And I think they go there on the 31st of March. So that's going to be a game that we are all going to be waiting for. It's going to be lights, camera, and action. But at the same time, we also have to consider that both sides are in the Champions League, and we know that those fixtures are not going to be easy, especially for Arsenal, because Porto is a side that will be able to cause them some problems. Manchester City, not so much with Copenhagen. They're pretty much halfway there after that 3-1 victory during this week. But Arsenal are going to have to live up to the expectations that they're starting to create. They are making sure that they show themselves as true title contenders, and the only way that a lot of people are going to believe them is if they actually continue this form. But what's more impressive is the fact that they've been able to have a very good defensive record during this period of only conceding 2 goals, and they've scored 21 on the way to where they are right now. So all they need to do is just stay in that pack. They don't need to be leading it as they did last season, because they were very explosive with how they started. This season, they were not as convincing up until Christmas, but they were always in and amongst the people who want to be in the conversation towards the end of the season. So if they continue doing exactly what they're doing, and they keep on being explosive as they are right now towards the business end, then maybe we might be able to end this 20-year drought as we try to reclaim the Premier League title for the first time since that storied Invincible period. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. What has Arsenal impressed you with so far? I think that their positional interplay has been immaculate. And we saw it yesterday against Burnley, especially in that last goal with Havertz, where they almost couldn't pick him up because he was playing more as an 8 rather than a 9. And at certain periods of that game, he was going back to an 8. And sometimes he was even going back and playing on the right or the left-hand side. But anyway, guys, it's been your boy Izzy. As usual, leave your comments down below. Thank you for everybody who's been subscribing to the channel. And as always, until the next time, peace.